Shalom Aleichem. Seid begrüßt, da geht ein Moe, da geht Ufend. Vitame Amherst. Welcome, friends in the hall and online. It's a really incredible honor and privilege, as we say in Yiddish, a kuvid in a fargenigen, to be with you all tonight and to welcome to the Yiddish Book Center Mikołaj Grynberg.
Hi, good evening.
Coming to us all the way from Warsaw, as well as Sean Bye, his translator. We are in for a very special treat, and I just want to welcome everybody who's here on the hall and online. Hello out there in TV land, as they used to say. We have a really rare and special occasion. It is not very often that Mikołaj comes to this side of the ocean, and it is not very often that we at the Yiddish Book Center have the opportunity to welcome a guest, fin der alter Heim, from the old home, the old country. My name is Sebastian Schulman. I am the Director of Special Projects and Partnerships here at the Yiddish Book Center. Tonight we'll be speaking with our guests, and we will take questions from the hall. Unfortunately, we will not be able to take questions from the Zoom hall, but if you have a burning question, you are free to email us after tonight's discussion. So, for those of you who might not know, Mikołaj Grynberg is a photographer, a filmmaker, an author, and a trained psychologist. He has published 3 collections. Their titles in English: Survivors of the 20th Century, I Accuse Auschwitz, and The Book of Exodus. This book, I'd like to say sorry, but there is no one to say sorry to. His first work of fiction was a finalist for the Nikkei, is that how you pronounce it? The Nikkei Prize, which is Poland's top literary award, and its English translation is by Sean Bye. And in this translation, it was a finalist for the Sammy Rohr Prize, the National Book Award, and the National Translation Award.
National Jewish Book Award.
National Jewish Book Award, yes, thank you. Grynberg made his directorial debut in 2021 with a film, Proof of Identity, that was produced by the Polin Museum, the Museum of the History of Polish Jews in Warsaw. His most recent work of fiction, available in English, is Confidential, which was published by New Press just this year, also in Sean's translation. And Mikołaj comes, as I say, comes to us from Warsaw. Sean Gasper Bye is a translator from the Polish, and his translations have won many awards, including the EBRD Literary Prize and the Asymptote Close Approximations Prize. Appropriately that I should approximate that word. And he has been shortlisted for the Warwick Prize for Women in Translation, the National Jewish Book Award, the Sammy Rohr Prize, and the National Translation Award. He has been a National Endowment for the Arts Translation Fellow and a translator in residence at Princeton, and is the membership and director of development at the American Literary Translators Association, also known as ALTA, where he was previously the interim executive director. Sean also is a mentor to emerging translators at the National Center for Writing in the UK and right here at the Yiddish Book Center. So I'm just going to jump right in and begin our conversation. So, Mikołaj, you work across so many different fields. As we've heard, photography, filmmaking, you write fiction, nonfiction. What is it like to create and live as a Jew in today's Poland?
Hi, hello. Thank you for the invitation. I will be speaking in Polish because I think you deserve better and decent English, thanks to Sean. So let me switch to your question. Myślę, że tak samo trudno i łatwo się wykonuje różne zawody w Polsce.
I think it's just as easy or difficult as many other jobs in Poland.
Ja w swoim dorosłym życiu zmieniłem już kilka razy zawód.
I've changed professions several times already in my adult life.
No i ciągle jeszcze nie wiem, kim będę, jak dorosnę.
Sure.
Ciągle jeszcze nie wiem, kim będę, jak dorosnę.
And I still don't know who I'll be when I grow up.
Ale myślę, że najbardziej jestem pisarzem teraz.
But I think now it's best to be a writer.
A zajmuję się tym od kilkunastu lat i zajmuję się tym, bo nagle poczułem wielką potrzebę opowiadania historii.
I've been a writer for more than 10 years now. Przepraszam, Mikołaj, trudno mi trochę.
I najbardziej jestem skupiony teraz na opowiadaniu historii.
And I'm most focused now on telling stories.
Opowiadam żydowskie historie.
I tell Jewish stories.
I to nie pomaga żyć w Polsce opowiadanie żydowskich historii.
Telling Jewish stories doesn't make life in Poland any easier.
Ale powoduje, że ja zaspokajam swoją ciekawość.
But it does help me to satisfy my own curiosity.
I powoduje, że potem widzę łzy w oczach moich czytelników i czytelniczek.
And it means that I then get to see tears in the eyes of my readers.
Czyli znaczy, że mi się udało przekazać im to, co ja czuję.
Which means that I've been able to pass on to them the things that I feel.
So as somebody who has changed professions, art forms so frequently or so many times, what drew you to take on the responsibility, the pleasure, the pain? What is it to you to tell these Jewish stories?
Ja przez 20 lat przedtem byłem fotografem.
For 20 years before I became a writer, I was a photographer.
I to takim szczęśliwym, bo zarabiałem pieniądze.
And I was a happy one because I was making money.
I nagle przyszedł taki moment, że bardzo w gwałtownej śmierci zmarła moja mama i zaraz 3 miesiące po niej jej mama.
And I had I had a moment in my life where very suddenly my mother died, very suddenly and unexpectedly, and then 3 months later her mother died.
I nagle duża część historii, w których się wychowałem, zniknęła.
And that meant that suddenly a large number of the stories that I had grown up with disappeared.
I wtedy ta cała radość z fotografii i z pieniędzy i z życia zniknęła.
And suddenly all that joy that I had from photography and from making money and from life disappeared.
I wtedy zacząłem jeździć do Muzeum Auschwitz.
And then I started going to visit the Auschwitz Museum.
I przyjeżdżałem tam co miesiąc na niecały tydzień.
And I went there every month for almost a week.
Przez 12 miesięcy.
For 12 months.
I mieszkałem tam w środku w gościnnych pokojach.
And I lived in the guest rooms there. I stayed in the guest rooms there.
I codziennie rano wstawałem i wychodziłem pytać się tych ludzi, którzy tam przyjeżdżają zwiedzać, po co przyjechałeś?
And every morning I would get up and go out and I would ask the people who were coming there to visit the museum why they had come.
Bo myślałem, że w którejś z tych odpowiedzi usłyszę swój powód przyjeżdżania tam.
Because I thought that in one of those answers I might hear my own reason for going there.
Spędziłem tam rok, nic się nie dowiedziałem nowego.
I spent a year there and I didn't learn anything new.
Usłyszałem dużo smutnych odpowiedzi.
I heard many sad answers.
I dużo bardzo głupich.
And many very stupid answers.
Nie obrażając nikogo tutaj.
No offense meant to anyone here.
Najgłupsze były od mieszkańców Stanów Zjednoczonych.
The stupidest came from people from the United States.
Którzy mówili, my, Amerykanie, nie moglibyśmy mieszkać w takim miejscu, bo my jesteśmy wychowani w innych warunkach.
People who said that people from the United States couldn't possibly live here, live in Poland, because they had grown up in completely different conditions.
Z tej mojej pracy, z tych rozmów i ze zdjęć, które tam zrobiłem, powstał album.
So a book came out of those conversations that I had and the photographs that I took there, a photography book.
I z tych rozmów.
Oh, and yeah, and of the conversations as well. Yeah.
I ten album został wydany przez Muzeum Auschwitz-Birkenau.
And that book was published by the Auschwitz Museum.
No i wtedy ja już zrozumiałem, że to jest koniec mojej fotografii.
And then I understood that that was the end of my photography career.
I zrozumiałem też, że historie, które chcę opowiadać, potrzebują słów.
And I also realized that the stories that I wanted to tell required words.
I że muszę wymyśleć sposób, żeby tak pracować, żeby móc pracować nad tym tematem w sposób, który nie będzie zatruwał mojego domu.
And that I had to come up with a way of working on this subject in a way that wasn't going to poison my own home.
Wtedy miałem w domu dwoje nastolatków.
At the time I had two teenagers at home.
I dlatego zacząłem wyjeżdżać. Jeździłem do Izraela, rozmawiałem z ludźmi, przyjeżdżałem tutaj, rozmawiałem z ludźmi, jeździłem do Skandynawii. No.
And so I started traveling around outside of the country. I went to Israel, I went to the United States, I went to Scandinavia.
I to była ta część dokumentalna.
And that was the sort of documentary part of my writing work.
The non-fiction.
The non-fiction, yes.
I te lata zajmowania się zbieraniem tych opowieści
And the years that I spent collecting those stories
spowodowały wielką potrzebę tego, żeby móc to opowiadać po swojemu.
left me feeling a great need to be able to tell these stories my own way.
I dlatego jak na początku mnie przedstawiałeś i mówiłeś, że tak piszę i tak piszę, to dlatego ja zacząłem pisać fikcję.
And so, when you introduced me at the beginning saying, he writes this sort of thing, he writes that sort of thing, that was the reason why I moved into writing fiction.
I to spowodowało, że ja mogę opowiadać historię o tym samym, ale mieć pełną kontrolę nad dramaturgią, początkiem, puentą.
Mm-hmm. That meant that I could tell these same types of stories, but having total control over the structure, over the co było to drugie?
Początkiem.
How it began, how it ended, and what sort of the punchline was.
So you speak, you speak about Auschwitz at the beginning of your story, right? And one of the things that, I'm trying to say many things at once. I'll start over. For those of us who are engaged with Yiddish culture, Poland holds an inescapably large place in the imagination. And sometimes it is imagined like the Yiddish Book Center, sort of looking at the golden age of Jewish life and culture. This building is modeled after wooden synagogues of Poland, and sometimes it is imagined as the epicenter of antisemitism and terror and the Holocaust, personified, characterized by Auschwitz. And one of the things that I think is so powerful about your writing is that you focus on the individual, stories of a single person or a single family that complexify these myths, that sort of bust them apart. And I was wondering, as you were talking, is that a conscious decision when you're forming, as you say, you go from the nonfiction, the documentary style to the fiction. Is that a conscious decision you're making to sort of rip apart these mythological or staid narratives about what it means to be Jewish in Poland?
I w przypadku fiction, i w przypadku non-fiction to są świadome decyzje.
Both in the case of the fiction and the nonfiction, those are conscious decisions.
Ja używam żydowskich historii do opowiadania historii o ludziach, o człowieczeństwie.
I use Jewish stories to tell stories about people, about humanity.
I one się bardzo dobrze do tego nadają.
And they work very well for that.
Bo tam jest wszystko to, czego literatura potrzebuje. Jest smutek.
Because they have everything that literature needs. They have sadness.
Jest lęk.
Fear or anxiety.
Jest utrata.
Loss.
Miłość.
Love.
I dlatego niezależnie czy w tych książkach dokumentalnych, czy w tych drugich, ja zawsze opowiadam historię osoby, a nie o wydarzeniach.
And that's why in my writing, whether it's fiction or whether it's nonfiction, I always write about people rather than about events.
I dlatego zawsze wtedy, kiedy to są prawdziwi bohaterowie, to ja ich się pytam nie jak było, tylko pytam się, co czułaś.
And that's why when I'm working with real subjects in the nonfiction side, I don't ask what happened. I ask, how did you feel?
I w ten sam sposób buduję tych bohaterów fabularnych.
And in that way, I build my fictional characters.
Dlatego, że ten wachlarz emocji mamy wszyscy taki sam.
Wachlarz.
Wachlarz to jest to, czym się wachlujesz, czyli ten zbiór emocji.
Aha.
Wszyscy mamy takie same emocje.
And that's because we all have the same range.
Katalog.
Of emotions, a catalog of emotions.
I pisząc w taki sposób, robię to, żebyś ty czytając mógł empatyzować z tymi bohaterami.
And I write so that you as a reader can empathize with these characters.
Jeśli to jest niemożliwe, to znaczy, że znalazłem zły pretekst do opowiadania historii o człowieczeństwie.
And if that doesn't happen, then that means that I've found the wrong pretext. I found the wrong way into telling a story about humanity.
Jeśli to się nie uniwersalizuje, no to znaczy, że albo ja tego nie umiem zrobić, albo wybrałem zły temat.
If it's something that can't be felt universally, then that means either I don't know how to tell the story properly, or I've chosen something that isn't suitable.
So let's now go into your specific writing. We'll talk about these two books, and I want us to keep in mind that balance between the universal and the very specifically Jewish. So the first book here, I'd like to say I'm sorry, but there's no one to say sorry to. That title in English, it's long, it's wordy, and it's very sly. It's very provocative.
Sly.
To jest taki how do I explain?
Sly. There's something sort of hidden, hidden underneath. That's not explicitly said. That's sort of being hinted at.
Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
And
Polish word.
and the original title is a Yiddishism in Polish, which would also sort of speak to a Polish reader in a particular way. So I was wondering if you could start by talking about the title of this book and sort of how it has been received by a largely non-Jewish readership.
To jest opowieść o różnicach kulturowych,
This is a story about cultural difference,
bo ja inaczej wybieram tytuły do swoich książek
but because I have a different way of choosing the titles of my books.
i inaczej sobie wyobrażam okładki.
And I imagine the covers differently.
Amerykański wydawca, zanim wyszła książka, przysłał mi propozycję okładki, tej okładki.
Before the book came out, the American publisher sent me a proposal for the book cover, this cover.
I ja jako dziecko ocalałych, wychowany w domu pozagładowym, ja widzę pasiak.
And I, as a child of Holocaust survivors who grew up in a post-Holocaust family, immediately saw the striped uniforms in Auschwitz.
I powiedziałem, że no nie jestem fanem tej okładki.
And I told them that I wasn't a fan of this cover.
Ale im zaufałem, bo na tym polega nasza współpraca.
But I trusted them because that's what collaboration is about.
I zanim ta książka wyszła, znalazła się na liście najładniejszych okładek nadchodzącego roku.
And before the book came out, it ended up on a list of the best book covers of the year that was coming out. Yeah.
To już wtedy wiedziałem, że ja nic nie rozumiem.
And that was when I realized that I didn't understand anything.
Więc już nawet nie dyskutowałem o tym tytule.
So I didn't even talk to them about the title.
Mój tytuł miał jedno słowo.
My title was one word long.
I ja sobie w życiu bardzo cenię mówienie mniej niż więcej.
And in my life, I really value saying less rather than more.
Ale wiem, że tutaj to zadziałało.
But I know that here it worked.
So for those who don't know, can you tell us your one-word title and how it might have resonated with the Polish reader?
Polski tytuł brzmiał Rejwach.
The Polish title was Rejwach.
To jest jiddyszyzm.
It's a Yiddishism.
Po polsku ma inne znaczenie niż w Yiddish.
In Polish, it means something different than in Yiddish.
W Yiddish znaczy zysk.
In Yiddish, it means profit, as in like the money that you earn.
A w trakcie tego wędrowania między językami zmieniło znaczenie.
And in the course of wandering from one language to another, it changed its meaning.
No i po polsku znaczy rejwach, zgiełk.
In Polish, it means sort of cacophony or the sound of many voices speaking at once.
Bo ta książka jest zbiorem wielu głosów.
Because this book is a collection of many voices.
I ta książka jest zbiorem monologów.
And it's a collection of monologues.
Exactly. It's a collection of monologues, it's a collection of voices. Knowing that you're a photographer, I see them as kind of oral portraits of these characters. And I was wondering if, how your background in photography and also psychology, shapes these stories, shapes these characters.
Kiedyś na to pytanie, głównie to o psychologię, odpowiadałem, że ja jestem taki wrażliwy i po prostu mam ten dar.
I used to always answer this question about the psychology by just saying that, I'm a sensitive person. I have that gift.
Tacy chucpa.
I don't think we needed to translate that.
A dzisiaj myślę, że ja przeszedłem duży trening jako student psychologii.
But these days, I think that I actually went through a lot of training as a psychology student.
Który polegał głównie na tym, żeby słuchać.
Which mainly consisted of learning how to listen.
Żeby nie przeszkadzać.
To not get in the way.
Żeby nie panikować, jak się pojawiają łzy.
To not panic when someone starts crying.
I żeby budować relacje z moimi bohaterami.
And to build a relationship with the person that I am speaking to.
A jeśli chodzi o to, że dużo widać w moich książkach, No widać, bo ja dalej mam oczy.
And as far as being able, if you feel like you can see a lot in my books, well, that's because I have eyes. Still.
So back to this idea of cacophony. So for me as a reader, you hear all these voices. Some are Jewish, some are not Jewish. They're all kind of dancing around the same topics, and they are so loud, and nobody is competing with each other. They're all kind of overlapping. And for me, I grew up in a very large, very loud, very dramatic, very Jewish family. And for me, the book feels very close in a way. And yet, Sean, you write about this in your translator's note. You described at least their genesis as haiku, which to me has such a different, deliberate, almost, something is present in the absence, something can be heard in the silence sort of approach to your writing. So I'm wondering how this book plays with that contradiction. It's so loud, but what you're really reading is not on the page. How do you craft that?
Ja strasznie nie lubię takich osób, które jak mi opowiadają jakąś historię, to ja ją rozumiem już po minucie, a oni mówią jeszcze 15 minut.
I really hate people who, when who tell me a story that I understand in 1 minute and they keep going for another 15.
I naprawdę, zupełnie poważnie mówiąc, myślę o tym, że to jest brak szacunku do tego, co słucha albo czyta.
And speaking very seriously now, I think that shows a lack of respect for the person who is either listening or reading.
Więc ja mało myślę o tych, którzy to będą czytać.
So I don't think very much about the people who are going to be reading.
Ale ja myślę, że oni na pewno są tak inteligentni jak ja, a pewno bardziej.
But I do think that they're definitely as intelligent as I am and probably more.
Więc muszę bardzo uważać, żeby nie mówić jak do debili.
So I have to be very careful not to speak like I'm talking to an idiot.
That makes sense, absolutely.
Ale w trakcie pracy już tak sprawdzam to bardzo konkretnie.
But when I'm working on it, that manifests itself in a very concrete way.
Sprawdzam, czy wszystkie słowa w każdym zdaniu są potrzebne. Czy bez tego słowa to zdanie dalej działa.
I check if every single word is really necessary and if I take that word out, if it still works.
Jeśli upoluję zdanie, które nie służy całości, nie jest przydatne, bez niego to też działa, to je wyrzucam.
And if I track down a word that isn't essential to the whole, then I throw it out, as long as the whole thing still works without it.
Ale rzadko mi się zdarza wyrzucać, bo ja właśnie nie umiem napisać za długo, raczej piszę za krótko.
But to be honest, that doesn't happen very often because I don't know how to write things that are too long. I usually write things that are too short.
Zawsze się boję, że wydawcy powiedzą, musisz dopisać drugie tyle, bo jest za krótkie. Takich książek krótkich nie drukujemy.
I'm always afraid that my publisher is going to say to me, you need to write half again as much because a book that's this short is just not going to sell.
That's a very good segue, in fact, to the next book, which in many ways is a kind of sequel is a bit of a strong word, but a spin-off. It feels very connected to the first book, Confidential, which focuses on the story of a single family. And, when I think of the great sort of European family sagas, there are these thick books of hundreds of pages that go on. And here you have a book that tells about multiple generations, is the story of a family, and it's so rich, it's so complex, but it's so condensed. And it's the same it's the same thematically, but it's also the same kind of concision.
Związły.
So
Uwielbiam to słowo.
Tak.
I love the word.
Oh, excellent, excellent. But I'm wondering for you how these two books are related.
No myślę, że po pierwsze są połączone moją wrażliwością.
I think that they're both connected by my own sensitivity.
Tej drugiej książki nie chciałem napisać tak samo jak pierwszej.
I didn't want to write the second book, Confidential, the way that I had written the first one.
No bo już wiedziałem, że tak umiem.
Because I knew that I already knew how to do that.
That way.
The first one, yeah.
Więc postawiłem przed sobą nowe zadanie.
So I gave myself a new task.
Niech to nie będzie już narracja pierwszoosobowa.
To make it a first-person narrative.
Żeby nie być.
For it not to be a first-person narrative.
I żeby zrobić takie puzzle.
And to make a sort of puzzle.
Które się złożą w całość dla tych, którzy chcą to zobaczyć.
That would come together into a whole for those who wanted to see that.
Ale można to czytać jako pojedyncze opowiadania i one są wystarczające. W każdym z nich jest historia.
But you can read them as separate, each chapter as separate short stories. Each of them is a complete story on its own.
Ale jeśli je przeczytasz w takiej kolejności, jak ja je ułożyłem, to zobaczysz to, co chciałem pokazać.
But if you read them in the order that I put them together in, you will see that whole that I wanted to show.
W Polsce to funkcjonuje jako zbiór opowiadań, w Stanach funkcjonuje jako powieść.
In Poland, it functions as a collection of short stories, and in the United States, it functions as a novel.
Pytanie, kto zobaczył całość, a kto nie.
And the question is who saw it as a whole and who didn't.
Oh, that is fascinating. And now I'm second guessing myself as a reader. I absolutely read this as a whole, non-linear.
Yeah.
The story of a contemporary Polish Jewish family told in this non-linear way, but I saw it as a whole. But this is actually a question I have about this book. So this first book is very cacophonous, but it's kind of a social portrait, a portrait of Polish society around Jewish issues, memory, the Holocaust, antisemitism, and I see it as very cohesive in its cacophony. This book, you have the structure of a family that they are in sort of the same household, the same bucket, as it were, but their personalities are so different. Their lives are so different. And so, one of my questions is actually what holds this family together? Where do they get their sense of duty or trust or love when they are so different? And I'm sure, it's hard to read your writing without thinking of my own family, but I feel like it's a universal thing. We're in families with all different kinds of people. And I'm wondering, what to you makes this book a whole? What makes this family cohesive?
No, jesteśmy w sednie.
Now we're at the core of the issue. Yeah.
Bo ja tą książkę napisałem po śmierci moich rodziców.
I wrote this book after my parents died.
I jakbym się nie starał, to jest autobiograficzna opowieść.
Nie starał, żeby...
Niezależnie jakbym nie próbował, żeby tak nie było, i tak to się tym stało.
And no matter how hard I tried for it not to be autobiographical, it was still going to come out that way.
I dla mnie dzisiaj z perspektywy czasu to jest historia o fenomenie ludzi, którzy mieli zginąć, a stworzyli wspaniałą rodzinę.
And to me now, looking back, what it is a story about people who were meant to be killed, but who managed to create a wonderful family.
Więc to jest dla mnie historia o tym, jak oni są dla siebie bliscy, jak się kochają i jak o siebie dbają.
And so to me, it's a story about how they are close and how they care for one another and how they how they love one another and how they look after one another.
I dalej będę się upierał, to nie jest dokument. To nie jest dokumentalna.
And this is not, this is not nonfiction. This is fiction.
Dlatego mogłem to powiedzieć bardziej.
And that was what allowed me that gave me more freedom to tell the story.
I
It made it easier for me to tell the story.
ten efekt napisania tej książki dla mnie jest niekorzystny.
And the effect of writing that book on me was negative.
Nie opłacało się,
It wasn't worth it.
bo oni mi się teraz już nawet nie śnią. Nie mam snów z nimi.
Oh. Because now I don't even have dreams about them.
To się wszystko wydarzyło w tym pisaniu.
It all happened in the writing. It all happened while I was writing.
I oni zniknęli.
And they've disappeared.
Gdybym wiedział wcześniej, na pewno, że taka jest cena, to bym nie napisał tego.
If I had known before that that was going to be the price, I wouldn't have written it.
Well, I don't know if thank you is the appropriate thing to say, but thank you for giving this to us as readers.
Ale mam też dobrą wiadomość. Mam też dobrą wiadomość.
I also have some good news.
1,5 roku temu miałem zawał.
A year and a half ago, I had a heart attack.
I od wtedy oni mi się znowu śnią.
And ever since then, I have dreams about them again.
Amen, amen. That's a terrible way to get what you wanted. But
I found a way.
you found a way, and such, I think this is Ashkenazi Jewish culture at its heart, which leads me to my next question. In fact, the book is very sad. It is very moving. It is very challenging, but it is also very funny. How do you employ humor here? What is its function, and how do you make it hit in the midst of all of these other more stormy and difficult emotions?
To jest ciekawe z tym humorem i z tym, że ciebie to śmieszy.
It's interesting about the humor and that you find it funny.
Bo to śmieszy tylko Żydów.
Because only Jews find it funny.
I tylko niektórych.
And only some Jews.
Oh.
Tych, którzy rozumieją rolę czarnego humoru.
The ones who understand the role of black humor.
Oczywiście, gdybyś ty, Sean, tego nie rozumiał, to ty byś tego nie dostał.
Of course, if I, Sean, hadn't understood it, then you wouldn't have gotten it.
So we have one Jew by osmosis.
I'll take it.
Baptism is traditionally not the way, but...
Ale ten humor nie jest po to, żebyśmy się śmiali. On spełnia bardzo precyzyjną rolę.
But the humor is not just there to make us laugh. It plays a very precise role.
Humor według mnie najlepszy jest taki, który leży na czarnym tle.
in my opinion, the best humor is the kind that is on a black background.
Wtedy jest najśmieszniej
Then it's funnier, or it's the funniest,
i najsmutniej.
and the saddest.
I to jest ten moment, kiedy napina się ta cięciwa łuku.
And that's the moment when you cock the bow.
A to znaczy, że to jest ten moment, w którym udało się autorowi stworzyć największe napięcie dramaturgiczne.
And that means that from a literary structure perspective, that's the moment when the author has been able to create the most tension.
Bo jeśli się śmiejesz, ale też się wstydzisz, że się śmiejesz, ale to jest tak śmieszne, że nie możesz przestać.
Because if you laugh, but you feel ashamed that you laughed, but even so you can't stop from laughing.
To wszystko powoduje, że zaczynasz myśleć.
All of that means that you start to think.
Ale nie myślisz o całym świecie. Myślisz, co ja bym zrobił.
And you don't think about the whole world. You think, what would I have done?
I to jest ten moment, kiedy empatia osiąga swój maks.
And that is the moment when empathy reaches its maximum.
To bardzo tak po inżyniersku zabrzmiało, ale ja tak o tym myślę.
I realize I sound like an engineer when I say this, but that's the idea.
An engineer or a poet?
Or something in between.
So I want to talk, we're running out of time, but I do want to turn to issues of translation itself. So Sean,
Działa twój mikrofon?
Chyba tak działa. Yeah.
You'll translate for Sean.
Yes, yeah. All the Polish speakers in the audience.
Yes. Sean, I'll start with a deceivingly simple question. And I think we just heard about this. What were the main challenges you faced in bringing Mikołaj's work into English?
The biggest challenge is that I'm exactly the type of person Mikołaj was talking about, who gets the point across in 1 minute, but keeps talking for the next 15. And so understanding, there's sort of a technical aspect to this challenge, which is that I have to get my prose down to as concise as Mikołaj's is. And that is really tricky. Polish is concise in a very different way from English, just because of the different ways the languages are structured. So I have to think about it differently. I have to employ different tools. But there's a challenge of sort of empathy, if you like, which is that I have to understand that aspect of the unsaid, that negative space that you were talking about before. And as somebody who is neither Polish nor Jewish, these are things that I don't always understand intuitively. And so I spend a lot of time asking Mikołaj, asking other people. Seb has offered me advice about these kinds of issues many times. Is my microphone picking me up? Yeah? Okay. It's not working?
Yeah.
Okay. Is that better? Oh, yes, that's much better. Yes, hello. So there's the technical challenge of just getting the English into that very, very condensed form, which, as I say, has to happen in a different way than in Polish. And there's the challenge of making sure that I understand basically the subtext of the text, so that I know what to leave out, basically, right? And to make sure that the effect for the reader, the emotional effect, is still happening, right? Yeah.
So, and the question then begs to be asked, who is the reader? We've talked about different points about how the books are very different in Poland, in Polish, for a Polish reader, a Polish readership which is by and large not Jewish. And your English readership, is not exclusively Jewish by any means, but you do have a large audience which is potentially and probably Jewish. How does that change? How do you negotiate that kind of shift in probable readership?
Yeah, I mean, this is something I think about a lot, and I don't know the answer. I try not to worry about it too much. As Mikołaj said, part of the point is that these are these are stories that can be sort of that use a particularity to get at universality. The first book that I translated was a historical reportage about a small village in Silesia, a mining town in Silesia, that no longer exists. And I love this book. And I thought that in translating it, the only people who would read it were people who were already interested in Eastern European history. And I made a whole set of translation choices based on who I thought my readers of that book were going to be. And then it came out, and my entire extended family read it. And I thought, God, if I'd known that Aunt Marianne was going to read this book, I might have explained what a kolkhoz was, you know, and that having that lesson very early on, and then seeing the very different receptions that these books sometimes have in the United States, the different ways that people, very different ways sometimes that people respond to them here versus in Poland, taught me that I don't know who my readers are going to be. And that the only thing the reader who I know is myself. And I can do my homework by making sure that I have the kinds of emotional responses that I'm hoping to have to these texts. And then I just trust, I send it out into the world, and I just trust that the readers who need to find it are going to find it. And that's kind of all that I can do, you know. Yeah.
Thank you. We're unfortunately running out of time, but I do want to ask a couple of sort of closing questions. First of all, when you are translating, how do you work together? Because clearly we see you working together on stage here. You know, you clearly have a rapport or relationship, but how does that translate, pun intended, on the page or as you're working?
Well, I send Mikołaj a very long list of questions at the end. We've also, you know, it's been a real privilege to get to know Mikołaj quite well over the last several years. I mean, my partner and I stayed with him in Warsaw when we were there earlier this year. And hearing kind of the stories behind the stories really helps to inform the work that I'm doing. But yeah, sometimes I don't get the jokes, and I say to Mikołaj, you know, why is this funny? Or sometimes there's a reference that I don't get. It's really, I almost always work with living authors. I almost always, you know, ask them lots of questions and kind of collaborate with them on the translation. Mikołaj does not check my translation line by line, but you know, the support that he gives me on it is really invaluable. I don't know how I would do it without being able to ask him those questions and to communicate with him. Yeah.
No, dla mnie współpraca z Seanem to jest jedno z ciekawszych przeżyć w moim życiu pisarskim.
Mikołaj says that my working with Sean is one of the most interesting experiences I've had in my life as a writer.
Dlatego, że on stawia lustro przede mną.
Because he puts a mirror in front of me.
I te zdania, które ja myślałem, że przemyciłem, on je odkrywa, że one nie są skończone.
And the sentences that I thought I'd managed to sneak in, he discovers are actually unfinished.
I ja jak piszę kolejne książki, to myślę o tym, co by Sean powiedział.
And as I'm writing my next books, I think, what would Sean say about this?
I uwielbiam te listy pytań.
And I love those lists of questions.
Bo moja potrzeba kontroli nad tą książką jest zaspokojona.
Because my need for control over the book is satisfied.
A myślę, że z czasem mamy za sobą 2 książki. Chciałbym, żeby to nie był koniec, ale już i tak się przyjaźnimy, więc to mam.
And, you know, in time, we've done 2 books together. I hope that there will be more, but in any event, we've become close friends, and I at least have that.
I think we are all incredibly grateful for your friendship and your partnership. And I'm so grateful to have had the opportunity to speak with you both tonight. We are going to say a few thank yous, and then We'll say goodbye to our friends online and then open it up for questions. Just a few moments. I do want folks to know that books are for sale on our website and outside. And I believe both of our guests would be happy to sign your books. But before we say goodbye to those of you in TV land, I do want to say a few thank yous. So this program has been presented in partnership with the Amesbury Chair in Polish Culture, the Institute for Holocaust, Genocide, and Memory Studies, and the Edwin Gentzler Translation Center, all at UMass-Amherst, the Departments of Jewish Studies at Mount Holyoke and Smith Colleges, and the Polish Cultural Institute, New York, and the Polish Book Institute. I also want to take the opportunity to thank our members and our donors who make all of our work and programs such as this possible. And lastly, I want to thank just a few members of our staff who have really stepped up and made this program possible tonight. In the booth, making us sound as good as we do, look as good as we do, putting us online, and so much more. Oren Klopfer, thank you. Thank you, Oren, Hashem Dank. Outside, greeting you as you walked in and doing many things behind the scenes was Kate Czukowski. This is a Polish name, and Polish is not in my linguistic repertoire, but Kate Czałkowski-Winters, I hope I said that right, Nick Hogue and the facilities staff, and my co-conspirator in so many things, and my friend, our academic director, and yours, Mindel Cohen. Thank you, everybody. Hashem Dank.
And thank you all so much for hosting us. As you know, I've been trying to get Mikołaj here for quite a long time, and I'm really, really pleased that we finally managed to do it.
One more.
Thank you as well.
Oh, thank you. And one more time, Sean Bye.
Thank you.
And Mikołaj Grynberg.